The sun had barely risen over the hills of Eldenbrook when David Morales laced up his worn-out boots, grabbed his battered thermos, and quietly stepped out of the house. The air was crisp with the chill of early spring, and the scent of dew-covered grass brought back memories of better days, days when laughter filled the modest two-bedroom home he shared with his wife Clara and their two children, Elena and Mateo. David worked long hours at the steel mill, 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. The pay was enough to scrape by, but not enough to break free. Every month was a delicate balancing act: mortgage, utilities, groceries, school supplies, and whatever surprise bill fate threw their way. Yet every morning, he rose before the sun, kissed Clara's forehead as she slept, and whispered the same words, "I'll make it better, I promise." He wasn't a man of many words, but those 7 carried the weight of his soul. David's dreams weren't extravagant. He didn't want luxury, just security. He wanted to fix the leak in the roof that had dripped every rainy season since Mateo was born. He wanted to buy Elena the guitar she always looked at through the pawn shop window on Main Street. And most of all, he wanted Clara to smile again, not the tired smile she wore for his sake, but the one that used to light up a room. One evening, after another long shift, David stayed late at the mill to help an older co-worker, George, repair one of the massive forging machines. George was in his late 60s, his hands gnarled from decades of labor, but his mind was sharp as ever. "You're good with your hands, Morales," George grunted as they tightened bolts and realigned gears. "Ever think of doing something on the side? Welding, repairs, furniture?" David shrugged. "Not much time left in the day." "You make time for what matters," George said, wiping his brow. "You're not stuck unless you stop moving." That night, those words echoed in David's mind as he sat at the kitchen table, flipping through the local classifieds with a cup of lukewarm coffee. He circled a few listings. Someone needed a fence repaired, another needed help fixing a lawnmower. The pay wasn't much, but it was something. It was a start. David's weekends became busier than his weekdays. He borrowed tools from neighbors and scoured YouTube for tutorials. He fixed fences, patched roofs, assembled furniture, and mended broken appliances. His hands were calloused, his back ached constantly, but each envelope of side income was tucked into a coffee can hidden behind the water heater in the basement. He called it the Better Fund. Clara noticed the change. She didn't question his late evenings or early mornings, though her eyes often lingered on him with concern. "You're wearing yourself thin, David," she said one night as he massaged his sore knuckles. "I'm trying to build something," he replied. She reached for his hand. "You already have. We're proud of you. Just, don't forget to breathe." But David knew he couldn't slow down. Not yet. As summer arrived, David's side jobs multiplied. Word of mouth spread quickly in Eldenbrook, and soon he had more work than he could manage. He rarely saw the kids except when they were asleep, and Clara had begun taking over small repair jobs just to help him keep up. One Saturday, Elena tugged on his sleeve as he packed up for another roofing job. "Papa, can we go to the park today? You promised last week." David crouched to her level, guilt tightening his throat. "I know, Mija. I haven't forgotten. Just a little longer. I'm doing all this for you and Mateo." She nodded, disappointed but understanding. Clara watched from the porch, her eyes filled with something between admiration and worry. That night, David added the day's earnings to the Better Fund. It was growing steadily, but so was the distance between him and his family. He stared at the can, torn. Was he giving them a better life, or just giving them less of himself? In early October, disaster struck. A fire broke out in the mill's maintenance wing during a night shift. David was among the first to respond, helping a trapped coworker escape. In the process, he suffered second-degree burns on his arm and smoke inhalation. He woke up in the hospital 2 days later. Clara sat by his bed, holding his hand. "You scared us," she whispered, brushing his hair back. He winced, trying to sit up. "The kids. They're okay. They miss you. We all do." The recovery took weeks. David hated being idle, but he was forced to slow down. In those quiet moments, he began to see things more clearly, how much he'd missed, how many little moments had passed him by. When he returned home, the Better Fund coffee can was gone. In its place on the kitchen table sat a small wooden box. Clara had refinished it herself, carving the words, "For us," on the lid. "It's not just about money, David," she said. "It's about time. We want you more than anything else." By winter, David couldn't go back to the mill. His injuries made heavy labor difficult, but with Clara's encouragement, he turned his side work into a full-time home repair business. They created a website, printed flyers, and advertised in town. It wasn't easy, but it was theirs. The children pitched in too. Mateo handed out flyers at school. Elena helped organize tools and invoices. Clara managed the bookings and accounts. The business grew slowly but steadily, and so did the joy in their home. One evening, after a long but satisfying day, David sat on the porch with Clara, watching the kids play in the yard. "I thought I had to carry everything myself," he said quietly. Clara leaned on his shoulder. "You just had to let us help carry you too." David smiled, finally at peace. He had kept his promise, not